Hello, and thank you for viewing this introduction to the new DT series of dual-channel transmitters. I'm your host, Robert Greenfield, Acromag's Business Development Manager. Acromag's new DT dual transmitters are very similar to our popular TT thin transmitters and SP signal splitter models. Like their predecessors, the DT signal conditioners are software configured to offer easy selection of signal types and options, precise scaling of ranges, and powerful flexibility with a number of advanced capabilities. Each model has two independent signal conditioning channels with isolated inputs and outputs. Each model is also available in a two-wire configuration for loop power or a four-wire configuration when an external DC supply is used. These two versions are designated as the DT230 and DT330 models. The DT series offers two power options, each covering 5 different input types for a total of 10 models. DT230 versions are loop-powered with two-wire 4 to 20 milliamp output. DT330 versions have a 4-wire current or voltage output with connections for a DC power supply. Each model supports a variety of input ranges. The DT units are like having two TT series transmitters in a single module. Each I/O channel is configured and operates as if it was a separate unit. Although both inputs will be the same type, current, voltage, or temperature, they can have different ranges. On the DT230 versions, power is received from the output 4 to 20 milliamp loop. DT330 versions get power from a DC supply to drive both channels, which can have voltage or current outputs on either channel. Each input, output, and power circuit is isolated from the others. Both channels are configured through one USB port that connects to a PC for Windows software or an Android mobile device. Every model has two input-output pairs and options for power and software. 5 models support 7 different input types. And each input type supports a variety of selectable input ranges. The input types include process current, DC voltage with low, mid, and high-level voltage ranges handled on different models. The voltage ranges can be unipolar or bipolar for millivolt, common 5 or 10 volt, or up to 150 volt signals. Thermocouple models support 8 sensor types or millivolt ranges on a single model. The RTD model handles 2, 3, and 4-wire connection types with platinum, nickel, or copper sensors. The RTD model also supports linear resistance input ranges up to 4,500 ohms. DT230 two-wire versions have two 4 to 20 milliamp outputs, but on DT330 4-wire versions, you get the additional options of 0 to 20 milliamp current, 0 to 10 volt, or plus or minus 10 volt output ranges. Two-wire models will operate from 7 to 32 volt DC loop power, while 4-wire models can run off batteries supplying as little as 6 volts or sources up to 32 volts. And all models offer the option of using Windows configuration software on a laptop or PC or Acromag's Android app on a smartphone or tablet. In addition to operating as two independent signal converting transmitters, the DT models also have a signal splitter mode. When configured as a splitter, the channel 1 input will serve as the source signal for both outputs. The second input is disabled, but each output can apply different scaling for the input signal. With a 4-wire DT330 model, one output can be a current signal while the other is a voltage. Again, all input, output, and power circuits are isolated from each other. Another important distinction is that the DT series now offers an RTD or resistance signal splitter capability, which is not available in our SP series of splitters. The DT series has a number of advantages over competing units. Configuring units and software via the USB port allows easy selection of options and precise scaling that is not possible with POTS or jumpers. The standard USB port also eliminates any need for expensive proprietary adapters. Dual units are more cost and space efficient than using multiple single-channel units. Plus, the signal splitter mode adds flexibility as needs change. Advanced features let you customize sampling rates, filtering levels, output clamp levels, including NAMR levels, and more. Mechanical advantages simplify your wiring tasks with pluggable terminals, a rail bus that supports redundancy, and syncing or sourcing 4 to 20 milliamp outputs. You can confidently standardize on the DT series for a variety of applications because they will operate reliably across extreme high and low temperatures and carry international approvals for use in hazardous locations. Wiring connections are simple and straightforward. Each input signal wires to a separate terminal on the bottom, which are removable and front-facing. In this diagram, we show you how to connect two thermocouple or millivolt sensor inputs. On voltage and current input models, each terminal block offers two wiring paths, A and B, with support for different ranges. For example, on the DT337 model, path A uses screws 1 and 2 for ranges up to plus or minus 1 volt, while path B uses screws 2 and 3 for ranges up to plus or minus 10 volts. RTD input modules support 2, 3, or 4-wire sensors on both terminal blocks. Output signals are wired to the two topside terminal blocks. On DT230 models, power is sourced from the 4 to 20 milliamp output loop with a 2-wire connection, and the unit syncs current. DT230 models can also provide a sourcing current output if you have a power supply local to the transmitter. In this case, a 3-wire connection is made using the optional common terminal screw. 4-wire DT330 models have two output signal terminal blocks on the module's top side with a power terminal block in the middle. Each output can be wired for current or voltage signals depending on which screw terminals are used. On 4-wire DT330 models, the power terminal block is located between the two outputs. The unit can operate off a DC power supply ranging from 6 to 32 volts. A rail power bus option allows you to drive multiple units from a single connection. Redundant power connections are supported if you wire power to the rail bus and to each module's power terminal. If the primary power source fails, the secondary supply would engage without interruption. After wiring up the unit, the next step is to configure the transmitter operation. Acromag's free Windows software guides you through the setup with pages for communication, operating configuration, calibration, and diagnostics. The configuration page has pull-down menus to set the operating mode as a transmitter or signal splitter and select the desired I/O ranges and options for each channel. You can then type in the precise scaling and out-of-range limits. The diagnostic page lets you see the measured values to verify the operation. You can then save the configuration file or copy it to other units. DT330 4-wire units and models with temperature inputs have additional configuration options. For output, you can select current or one of several voltage ranges. Each channel allows independent input and output scaling within the base range. With thermocouple or RTD inputs, you can select sensor coefficients and filtering levels, set upscale or downscale sensor break detection, and choose metric, English, or absolute temperature units. Acromag's Agility app for Android devices brings the same configuration capabilities of the Windows software to a mobile device you can use in the field. With a smartphone or tablet, you can set up, change, or diagnose operation quickly and easily. A USB on-the-go cable will connect the DT transmitter to your device. The diagnostic page lets you read the measured values right from the input's A to D converter and even graph the polled results or email a CSV data file to yourself for later analysis in Microsoft Excel. These new transmitters are ideal for use in a variety of industries. Typical applications involve interfacing sensors to controllers or recorders in batch or continuous manufacturing processes for production of chemicals, food, metals, and other materials. Extraction and transportation operations for oil, gas, and minerals often require signal conditioners, as do utilities for managing water or generating power. With 2 inputs and 2 outputs, DT transmitters support several operating modes. First, they can operate like 2 independent transmitter units, or they can interface one measured signal to 2 separate locations, or they can keep the second channel in reserve in the event that requirements change. A classic application involves interfacing a sensor to a control system. Typical inputs are DC currents, voltages, temperature sensors, or resistance signals that are isolated and converted to a proportional process control signal such as 4 to 20 milliamps or 0 to 10 volts. The DT has 2 channels for independent signal processing of each input. Another common application is to split or duplicate the converted output signal from one sensor to 2 different systems. With a DT transmitter, the outputs can be the same or different. For instance, you could send a proportional voltage output to a PLC and a proportional current output to a chart recorder. A unique application is to connect the outputs in series to provide a higher voltage signal than the normal 10-volt ranges would allow. A recent customer needed a bipolar 15-volt output signal for a battery application. You could also drive specialty valves that may require up to 20-volt signals. In summary, the DT transmitter is a very versatile instrument with a number of advantages. Software configuration simplifies setup of functions that would be very difficult to implement with dip switches or pod adjustments. It also provides visual diagnostic tools at the bench or in the field. Combining the functionality of 2 units in a single module greatly reduces costs and saves space. For easier installation and maintenance, the DT's terminal blocks are removable with front access to the screws. The rail power bus further simplifies wiring with a single connection point to power multiple units and increases reliability with a redundant power option. Thank you very much for watching this presentation. Your interest in Acromag I/O solutions is greatly appreciated. Please contact us or visit acromag.com for more information.